the Shannon River meets the sea. My heart is e'er returning to my darling, whose blue eyes mean all the world to me. Though I go on roaming, sure my heart remains where the Shannon River meets the sea. Though my father told me other lands are fair, I'm afraid with him I can't agree, for I always long to breathe the scent air where the Shannon River meets the sea. There are no lips so sweet and so beguiling as those lips that once you gave to me. Though I grow on roaming, sure my heart remains where the Shannon River meets the sea.
Okay. Now, Sean Heafy, I'm John Malachi Raftery from Glenamaddy in County Galway, and it's nice to meet you here today in Carrigafoyle. And you come from around this area here, don't you?
Yeah, I'm from Carrick Island, from about half a mile here to the north. Living here all my life, and I'm nearly 78 years. Born 1935.
Sean, here we stand in the doorway of Carrigafoyle Church.
Right.
This is part of the landscape of your childhood, I suppose.
Yeah.
What reflections do you have, not necessarily factual or historical, but just general reflections on how it impacted on your life?
Just the church itself,
Mm.
you know, because there isn't any more churches like this around. Okay, you have Vahavallen up the road about a mile, no, but other than that, it didn't make much difference to me until we got, I suppose, interested in history in much later years. Then you get interested, you know, we're up to then.
Yeah.
It was only a building, if you
It was just a ruin or
ruin,
something
that's just
in a
it,
field.
yeah,
That's all it was. Yeah.
yeah.
And then you took an interest in it more later then.
Much later,
Yeah.
much later, yeah.
It's a place with an interesting leper squint. Squint, like in the sunshine today, we tend to be squinting because of the sun.
Yeah.
But this was a squint
Yeah.
where lepers squinted in
That's
to the
right,
church.
yeah. That's
And
right.
communion was
Yeah,
served
yeah,
out to them by
yeah.
the friar and that.
Yeah. The thing about the squint was inside it's about be 18 inches to 2 feet,
Yeah.
but outside it's only about a foot, we'll say, you know.
Yeah.
And I always figure the reason for that was lepers couldn't come into the church. So the priest, when he'd be giving out communion, could give it out to see through the squint. And the lepers would be making no contact with the priest. The other thing about lepers as well, they couldn't face you up with the wind behind them. They'd have to come to you against the wind, because they wouldn't be blowing the infection to you.
Yeah.
No, if you get my meaning.
It was very contagious, the leprosy,
contagious,
wasn't it?
yeah.
And I suppose lepers existed throughout Europe at that time, including Ireland. It was very contagious disease, transmissible by contact very easily. What was about the time that lepers would have been looking through this leper squint here?
Yeah, it would be around 1312, as far as I can figure out.
So in the 1300s and the
1300s,
1200s, around that kind of time. And it's about 2 foot wide on the inside and maybe 6 inches on the outside.
Yeah,
so
that's right. Yeah, that's the measurement.
the lepers couldn't stand upwind of whoever they were talking to in case they'd pass on
that's
the
right.
disease.
That's
and so
right,
on,
yeah.
But it was certainly, they had to shout unclean, I think, in some countries, and the unclean,
Yeah,
to kind of warn people
yeah.
that they were coming, yeah.
The other thing on that line is, while they used clappers
Clappers.
made with timber,
Mm.
and they'd use them when they'd be a good distance away. you know,
Oh, I see,
and they'd be
yeah.
coming forward towards you
Oh, to make a noise.
to make
like
a noise. Yeah.
something
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah, that's right, yeah.
Clapper. Are there any more aspects of this church that there's a water font, holy water font?
Yeah, that's
Inside
about it.
the door,
Yeah,
just
just here
here.
alongside us.
And many people would have dipped their hand here and
That's
blessed
right,
themselves in
yeah.
Inanimate Agus and Vic Agus
Agus
and
and
Spirit
Spirit
Neve, in nomine Patri et Filii et Spiritui Sancti. Amen. So, now Sean, there were quite a number of lepers, of course, around Ireland at that time, and Kerry in particular, maybe, and also a lot of leper hospitals. So, do you know much where they were located, these leper hospitals, in this area here?
Well, in Kerry, or we'll say North Kerry, there was Castle Island, Castlemaine, Ardfert, Redhastralee and Killarney.
Hmm.
There
So
were
that's
6.
6 leper hospitals, and is there any remains of them, I wonder, still
Don't know.
standing? Yeah.
I know.
There's very few traces from that time left,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
The leper squint is a very obvious trace here anyway. Yeah, that's
that
true.
will be the
Unclean, unclean, ostracized lepers were forced to cry. When hearing Mass, were they compelled to crouch and spy on ceremonies through gable end expedient, a leper squint. This dread disease then took a truly terrible toll. Deformity and blindness, rank ulceration of the skin, transmissible on contact to household kith and kin, or anyone who happened to show pity come too close. Chronic and incurable by any doctoring or dose, bacterial ailment so pandemic in medieval period, manifestations of its flesh-rot symptoms were myriad. This leper squint, built into the bottom of Carrickfoyle O'Connor Church, ensured that those afflicted could neither touch nor be touched. Extramural quarantine outside the walls. Beneath lofty gable, nonetheless they heard faint calls of their friar in responsorial psalms, and could partake of sacraments from a distance sanitary, and so forsake the world, the flesh, and the devil, whispering plaintive prayers through this leper squint, inured to suspicious stares of passers-by. So consoled, comforted, and elevated from woeful wretchedness, lepers' agonies must have abated. Region's Verities. This region's people, back through rolling years, more than most regions, spurn modernist jeers, fondly cherishing their heritage, that noble past which shaped their present and had a cast of thousands. Forebears of fortitude they hear, loud and clear, their prayers of joy or tears, vivid colours nailed to each clan's mast, even when away abroad across an ocean vast. While society lurches from fad to fad, and careers headlong towards dissolution, disruption which sears the spirit, this people of devotion hold fast to ancestral verities. They will be the last to falter, to capitulate to a force which leers at hallowed values and towards perdition veers. This region's people, when all comes to all, are classed with the best, at decency deniers simply aghast. Right, we're here beside the River Shannon, or Shannon Estuary, and Sean has pointed out to us that this is St. Senan's Road running along here, the remnants of St. Senan's Road.
Yeah.
Now, when was St. Senan born, Sean?
Born 544 in a place by the name of Mylock or Mylocka, to the left of Moneypoint.
Yeah.
And there's a road up this small little hill, and
That's Mylock.
in Mylock, and his little church is there to be seen today.
And here in the background then, St. Senan's Road.
Yeah.
That was the road which was connected, or aiming to be connected, with Scattery Island. How did St. Senan have a connection with Scattery Island?
He had churches in Scattery Island, you know. We just don't know
Yeah.
how he started building this road here
Yeah.
behind the
And then St. Senan's Road was also associated with oysters.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
I think we have some oyster paraphernalia here.
Well-
You can describe what this might be here.
the bags like this. See, the oysters are put into those bags and put on.
Here's a bag which is made of some kind of
Yeah.
strong plastic material.
yeah. Be like that, and then they're held on with hooks.
Held on like with hooks like this. Yeah.
Or cable ties.
Cable ties. Yeah.
These were jaigas oysters. I think they came from India or China or somewhere originally.
Jaigas. Yeah.
But before that, you had the native oysters growing here out on St. Senan's Road as well, at each side. The O'Connors, though I'm not sure about this, the O'Connors were supposed to be growing oysters out there as well. And then coming forward from that, DSB started growing oysters, I don't know when. But I do remember a man, a native of Carrick Island here as well, Jack McGibbon. He lived over here. He was the caretaker of the oysters here at that time. And you dare come down here.
Yeah.
He had a pony and cart, and he was transport the oysters to Tarbert to be collected there for Dublin. That's the main thing about him. But after that then, in the 90s, a group of us in Bally and around here, we formed Carrigafoyle Fisheries Co-op. We spent an awful lot of money on oyster seed and all that, and we thought, of course, eventually in a few years we'd be millionaires. But it was the other way around it went. We lost a lot of money in it.
I see. Oh.
So that today there's only one man. He's from Tralee, Peter Tighe. He's still fishing out here at the back, you know, with him. So that's the story as far as it goes today.
Of the oyster fishing.
The oysters, yeah.
O'Connor's, that was 500 or 600 years ago.
Yeah,
Oysters
that's right.
Now, St. Senan's Road here in the background, beneath the marsh in Turd, of course, has a lot of seaweed surrounding it. I've written a few lines entitled St. Senan's Road, Carrigafoyle. St. Senan's Road, beneath the marsh in Turd, neath bushes, rushes, and sundry water gushes, Carrigafoyle to Carrigisle, and thence to Scattery, was their plan. the latter part turned out to be, and also ran. This surely must have been a well-trodden way. Wayfaring monks and pilgrims perilously ferried across the Shannon, here to resume their ever-worried trek, powered by prayer and deep devotion. Shanks mere strangers skirting seaward bay, while gazing out over calm or turbulent ocean. Stakes and stones still visible at low water here, telling us that this is no myth or part of dubious lore, but recorded history. Their record crystal clear, St. Sennon's Road vestige evident, too visible to ignore.
Bhí sin go hálan.
Gur an míle maith agat.
Gur an míle maith agat freisin.
Gur an míle maith agat a teáin. Right, Sean, you were born just a stone's throw away from here, and in your early childhood you would not have really remarked this ruin very much. It would have looked much the same 60, 70 years ago as it does now, maybe a little less foliage on the walls and so on. But then in later life, you and indeed your illustrious brother, who sadly passed away, would have got a great appreciation of this place. Its mode of building, the wicker that was first of all laid down, then the stones angled up to a keystone in the top centre, and looking on it even in this state of overgrownness, it seems an amazing building to me now. Could you point out a few little features or memories you have connected with Carrigafoyle Abbey here? Yeah.
What we noticed that time about this abbey was the steps here at the left side, and we used to be climbing up there that time as well.
A little belfry up
and
there.
There must be a little belfry there.
Yeah.
That's mostly, other than that, it was only just a building to me until an awful lot, maybe in the last 9 or 10 years. Like as we grow on, then you get more interested in history and all that stuff, you know, and then you'd be just wondering about things, especially the roof. The way the roof is built, put up, you know.
Yeah. The only roof is now the roof of this and this section, really. Those are the two remnants of the roof.
These churches long ago, we know how far back you could go, they were built long and narrow. So what they did was they made those mats. This work was called wicker work. And they made it kind of into a mat that would cross across from wall to wall. When they had that then propped up from underneath, like that kind of a shape. And then they put on this heavy layer of mortar, about 2 or 3 inches, right around as well. They started in at the wall, we say, at the left side. You know, the stone had to be put in on a certain way, and then they put on another one, and another one,
and that can be
and
seen
another
just
one.
There now, can't it?
Right into the centre. And they did the same from the other side, and then they put in a keystone to be that shape. Then they put on another layer of mortar on top and levelled it off nice. And that was the roof and the way they did it.
Yeah, and the mortar was kind of daub bouilly or something.
Yeah, it was. But whatever they used to say that time as well, that they mixed the mortar with bullock's blood.
Well, no, it's a beautiful building to have had in your close environment, Sean. There's a different method of building, so
Shinam scale.
Yeah, good. I've written a few lines in honour of the Abbey Church Arch of Carrig Island, and here you have the 2 arches which are the only remaining vestiges of what was a very impressive building, perhaps one of the only buildings in Ireland or churches with a roof based on wickerwork, mortar and stones going in this direction. So this is the Abbey church arch. We imagine hands and hale heartbeats of those who fetched flat flagstones here, laid them with care, serried row upon row, a labour of love to them dear. Leaving this well-placed small window space to admit much needed daylight, built into middle, close enough to church base, for lookouts just about the right height. Flagstones blackened and dark where they lie low below. By arch top they are sun-washed to white, beside which creeping ivy never ceases to grow, for so rise this stonework's some sight. From humble small dwellings of that early time, Abbey Church was a far cry indeed. Masonry marvel magnificent, it was in its prime, echoing faithful, reciting the creed.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's in honour of your wonderful local church here with its unique roof situation. Another word from Sean here, yes?
I have a little story to tell as well
Yeah,
about this abbey.
yeah.
My father, I'd be good to him, he used to tell this story about the sands. I think they had, I don't know had they all the island here or not, going away back. But anyway, they had I suppose about 3/4 of it, I'd say. But anyway, there was this exceptionally bad winter. Fierce bad altogether. And Mr. Sands hadn't housing enough for his cattle below in the yard. So what did he do? He came up here, and you can see it even today, dry walls built up. This one here. Brought up, I think it was 10 cattle, and put them into the abbey here. And the sad story to it is that they all died.
Oh, I see, yeah.
I had my father telling that story several times, so must be true.
So there was a curse on the cattle.
Yeah. Well, I don't think to be right to do something like that with an abbey. I know I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
I'd let the cattle in here, but I wouldn't go building walls.
Oh, and he built up those windows
yeah,
just
you can
as you
that
see them
there.
there. Oh, I see, yeah.
And another one here, look. You see that one down there?
Oh, yeah. He was a landlord of some kind.
Yeah, he was a landlord.
Oh, yeah. Well, bad cess to the landlords.
Yeah. Could say that again.
Yeah, that's a good story, and it's a very you have the evidence of it here, and it's true that the cattle did die.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Well,
Why the being farming myself, I mean, your people would say maybe they got pneumonia.
Yeah.
But one animal might get pneumonia. You know, let it be calves or cows. But all of them wouldn't get pneumonia.
No.
All of them wouldn't.
It was too much of a coincidence if they all got it. So that was retribution. You could call it even maybe divine retribution. That's right. These verses are entitled Iloin na Gorrig, or Island of Rocks. Corrig is the Irish word for rock. Scattered on Scattery and Carrig shores and hills, cold stone here wild seascape fills, sized and shaped in the vortex of creation, laid down, dispersed in an ice age oblation. Oxen hauled from random resting places to line Friar's holy well and wall their church, while oak and ash and elm and stands of birch came and went, as did pilgrims' weathered faces. Carrig ruins pitted by generations of lichen and moss and countless wintry seasons of rain and wind, sanctuary for those who stumbled and sinned, repented and were saved, profiting after loss. Our hands we lay on this Carrig Isle touchstone, finding a thumb track indented from antiquity to ward off lurking forces of iniquity. On this Isle of Rocks, still truths are shown.
Here, here.
Thanks, John.
Here, here.
Truths are shown on this Isle of Rocks. Ruins and relics, Carrig Island. In North Kerry and Limerick, from Ardfirth to Adair, there are ruins and relics enough and to spare. There are castles and abbeys and anchorites' cells, and cromlechs and forts and miraculous wells, and each has its story of shame and of glory that clings like green grass to these monuments hoary. And whiskey was cheaper than paraffin oil in the time of King Conor of Carrigafoyle. No.
That was good.
Whiskey cheaper than paraffin oil. Okay, Sean, this is a fine big building, stout building. You picked out a few features of it that impressed you particularly.
Yeah, especially the quins, they're the cornerstones, and they're limestone. And I've been wondering for years actually, where did they come from? And how were they brought?
They're sandstone.
They could lay them all right, but where did they come from? Or how they got here, it amazes me. And the other thing, of course, is they have a very similar battery in Scattery Island. The very, very same.
Yeah.
So
they were guarding the Shannon, both sides of the Shannon.
They were guarding the Shannon in case Napoleon would come in.
Oh, Napoleon, yeah.
Because if he did come in, if they didn't get him from this side, they'd get him from the other side.
That's right, yeah.
It stands to reason.
Yeah. So this is a fine, stout building with 6 foot thick walls.
6 foot walls.
Yeah. The pointing is still intact, isn't it? It's perfect. After all this time, that's absolutely perfect. Yeah. And this brown stone, it's not a local Kerry stone, is it?
No, it's not. It's not.
No. But they must have imported that maybe from southwest of England or something.
But what amazes me, they're all around the same height. That's about 4 inches.
Yeah.
5 inches maybe, 4 inches.
Yeah.
The whole shebang lat up long until you hit a limestone again that's gone in for a kind of reinforcing the rest, Yeah.
So they would.
It's amazing.
Yeah, they had a great technique, of course, at that time. So now, Sean, this is a fine building, also in your immediate vicinity, part of your childhood memory, but also something you never thought very much about when you were young. It's only in more recent years that you've come to appreciate the magnificence of buildings like that.
Sure.
Battery, Carrig Island. 'Twas all about assault and battery. No need to bother with anything on Scattery. All angles covered by Imperial British military. Nowadays we are by no means dilatory in castigating that occupation. But they too were human, as were the Vikings attacking Ratu. Here still stands their basic water pump, necessary to slake dry thirst of that rump of redcoat forces who stared across to Money Point, while furtive priests came to console and anoint their victims. Ireland now free from British yoke, yet freedom's fire still some must stoke.
Here, here.
Carrigafoyle Castle cannoned. Cannon guns gigantic, quite unknown theretofore. Massive guns with a strangely death-dealing bore. Breached Carrigafoyle Castle with consummate ease, oblivious to its terrified inhabitants' pleas. Cannons pounding here, plain for posterity to see, gash shot through stonework of huge gaping degree, while our long oppressed people so longed to be free, well we know, only option open to fight or to flee. 'Gainst cannon, this castle was predestined to fall. Breach, bore and chase of that gun so constructed, by invading redcoats always dead set to maul upstart Irish rebels who were poorly instructed in trunnions and muzzles that propelled cannon's ball. Bombardment continuous, heavy ball cannonade, intense and relentless, breached stout fortification. Beleaguered Carrigafoylers without outside aid could but bide time and make prayer invocation, in the end overwhelmed, dismembered, dismayed.
Here, here.
Right. Thank you, Sean. That's Carrigafoyle Castle. So we'll walk actually here, in towards the...
John Raftery.
Pleased to meet you, nice to meet you.
Pleased to meet you now, Derek. And yes,
So I'm Garrity,
Yeah.
the key holder of the Carrigafoyle Castle.
Ah, lovely. Well, now I'm just admiring these surroundings here as well, but especially the structure itself. It's a wonderful, imposing edifice indeed, and it was bombarded brutally there in the middle. I tried to describe a little bit of that in my verse.
Yes.
Did you want to add anything, since you have an intimate relationship with this castle in holding its key and so on? Did you want to tell us a little bit about your impressions of this castle, since you live so close to it, and I'm a stranger to this area?
Of course. Yes, it's a fine castle. It was built in 1490 and it was attacked in 1580 and again in time of Oliver Cromwell in 1649.
Oh.
And it was ruled by the O'Connor Kerry, who ruled most of North Kerry for nearly 200 years from Carrigafoyle Castle here.
Yeah.
And it's the only remaining Gaelic Irish castle in North Kerry, and it's of great importance.
Yeah. From the heritage, the Catholic O'Connor heritage.
Yes, yes.
It was big element. And it was built on a very strategic spot just by the Shannon there, by this inlet there. Is this an inlet?
That's right.
The Shannon there?
They controlled the whole of North Kerry with the ships passing up the Shannon from here.
Oh, yeah. So
The Office of Public Works did restoration on the castle for 4 years between 2001 and 2005 and spent about €1 million on it.
€1 million?
Yes.
So they
It's
did pointing
more.
there, didn't they?
Even more, maybe.
more,
That's
yeah.
right, yes.
And Sean thinks the pointing was a great job there, that it gives a nice splash of colour there to the front.
It does, yes. It does indeed.
The pointing, yeah.
Some of it didn't come out so good though, I have to say that.
Yeah. And you have a lovely view up into the innards of the castle from here as well. I'm sure you often kind of come out here on a mellow summer's evening and in a reflective and pensive mood.
Of course.
And look up there into the opening and
Yes.
reflect on bombardment. And
That's right, of all the
and
slaughter that went on here
slaughter.
400 or 500 years ago.
That's right,
Yeah.
yes. And muzzles and trunnions and that kind of thing.
Imagine
That's right.
60.
Yeah.
There's 60 killed.
Yeah. 60 people
yes,
killed.
That's right,
Yeah.
yes.
60 killed.
Oh,
Yeah,
60
yeah, that's
killed.
right,
Yeah,
that's right.
So, yeah.
It reminds me as well about a tree,
Yeah.
an elm tree. There was in the grove there in Calmades as well. A big elm tree like that.
Mm.
And I remember when I was going to school, for some reason, And when I was reading about, when I came across this in a recitation about the hanging tree, and this was the hanging tree that I remember, a big tree like that, and for some reason a branch went out like that and up. Branches usually go from, you know, from the tree here up like that, but this went out and up, and it was called the hanging tree.
It was like a gallows.
We don't know, because Captain Julian in the castle here, he was hung. Was he hung off of that tree? We don't know how long.
Just a spare
Elm trees that they're supposed to live about 300 to 400 years. Whether that's where he was hung,
Yes.
but it was known anyway as the hanging tree to me. I often heard that story. But
They spared him for about 3 days. They were deciding what to do with him, but they eventually
yeah,
executed him.
didn't hear that.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah,
He was an Italian engineer.
that's right.
wasn't
That's
it?
right. Yeah.
Lislochton Friary, near Ballylongford in North County Kerry, in the southwest of Ireland. This was an ancient seat of learning, devotion, piety, founded by the Franciscan order, and was sacked in both the 15 and 1600s by Elizabethans and Cromwellians in turn. Now it's a very full graveyard in between the magnificent walls and stonework of this abbey we stand in here now. I've written a few lines in honour of the Lislochton Abbey, Lislochton Friary, and it goes like this. East-facing window above me here, still so splendid, through which sights are blended, of pastoral scenes surrounding, since its Franciscan order founding. 3 sedilia finely carved, of inspiration none was starved, revelling in their work with stone, craftsmanship so clearly shown. By Cromwellians sacked and plundered, prayerfulness then truly sundered, ears cut off, blood in the drains, in Glaun Clusach rest friars' remains. Now a tranquil, calm location, Lislochton Friars' invocation for peace and harmony to prevail is granted here o'er hill and vale.
Wouldn't John O'Connor like to have heard that?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's just written yesterday actually. Around here now.
There's now the courses around here now. That was supposed to be great option.
Tá faltar of goodie tab.
Oh,
John Melchior
Patrick Lynch, how do you do?
Yes.
Londocus is Gra.
Tá faltar.
Patrick Lynch.
Sean Heafy
And
from lovely
I
Calgary.
think you know Sean Heafy.
I know Sean.
Yes. So we're just actually admiring and appreciating this wonderful monument here in remembrance of Tarbert men who fought and died in 2 World Wars.
Here at the Memorial Plaza in Tarbert, we have 2 memorials commemorating the tragic loss of life of young people in 2 singular events of the 20th century. The War Memorial in natural limestone commemorates 13 men from the parish of Tarbert who fought and died in 2 world wars. 9 of the First World War 1914-18 casualties fought with Irish-based regiments and forces of the British Commonwealth. The last 2 fatalities of that war fought with the Army of the United States. The two fatalities of the Second World War, 1939-45, were killed while serving with the British Royal Navy. 13 Tarbert soldiers survived the slaughter of the First World War, while 8 men survived the Second World War. 6 of the men who died in the First World War were under 26 years of age, and 3 were married men. The last Tarbert soldier killed in the First World War was Stephen Cregan, one of 3 brothers serving with the American Army. He was killed 2 days before the armistice was signed.
And it's in native sandstone.
It is, yeah, in limestone.
Or limestone,
Native
yeah.
limestone, sculpted by Paddy Fitzgerald, a local man from Ballylongford.
And done in a scroll style here.
That's
as
it,
well,
correct, yeah. It's in the shape of a commemorative scroll. There was a commemorative scroll sent to each of the bereaved from the British War Office at the end of the First World War. So that's the reason for the shape of the memorial.
500 Kerry people
Over 500 Kerry men
killed in the First World War. Very few people, I think, are aware of that.
There would be very few would be aware of that, yeah.
So there was a lot of doomed youth here at that time.
There was a lot of doomed. The Shannon boating tragedy of 1893 was the biggest single maritime tragedy on the Lower Shannon for over 200 years, with the loss of 17 young people, 10 men and 7 women, all from the small parish of Tarbert. The average age of those drowned was 24 years, and the Scanlon family of Kilpadogue incurred the greatest loss, with the death of 4 of the eldest of a family of 14. On that church holiday of Tuesday the 15th of August 1893, 17 young people decided that they would spend the day in Clare. They would cross the Shannon in 2 rowing boats and spend the day at the seaside in Kilrush. On arriving at Crabtree Bert in Coolnanoona, a couple of miles west of the village, they discovered that there was only 1 boat available for the journey. There was no sign of the second boat or boatman. The 17 young people waiting at the shore and looking forward to a beautiful day in Clare decided to clamber into Murphy's 17-foot-long fishing boat, which was suitable only to carry 8 or 9 passengers. This boat was not seaworthy or watertight, having been beached for some months when the fishing season was over. It took water on the journey over, but they arrived safely and they came ashore at Mine Quay. Returning from the seaside in Kilkee that evening, they decided against their better judgment to return in the same boat. With a strong ebb tide running, they pushed out from Mine Quay sometime after 7:30 that evening. As luck would have it, they crossed the strong currents of the Tarbert Race on that part of the River Shannon. Disaster struck when they were approximately 300 yards from the Tarbert shore. Some of them stood up in the boat to see where they were going to be put ashore, and as a result, the boat capsized and they were all thrown into the water and drowned. By the end of that month of September, 12 bodies were recovered and buried in family graves. 5 bodies were never recovered. The River Shannon was their grave. 2 inquests, one in Clare and one in Kerry, found that the boat was overcrowded and not in a seaworthy condition. This beautiful memorial was erected by the people of Tarbert in 1988.
I have some little reflection on the Tarbert Old Pier, which I'd like to present to you now. It is entitled Tarbert Old Pier Reflection. And of course a lot of lichen tends to lie on old stone, old piers, so I take lichen as my theme here in this poem. As lichen is to old piers hosting stone, so is mankind to cherished faithways of forefathers, well ingrained in bone, clinging through short and livelong days. Buffeted, storm-tossed, wind-blown, but still encrusting, old blessings stay, highlighting, enhancing, sharpening our tone of existence through gloomy, murky haze. On this wave-washed Kerry shore, stranded alone, watched over by embracing eternal gaze, to keen observers a verity is shown, which on last day all souls will raise. Tarbert's old pier here holds our gaze.
Well done, Melky. Well done. It's a nice poem.
Thank you. Again, lichen, holding the gaze, eternal verity. Anna Cuin, a terrible drowning tragedy off the coast of County Galway, written by my namesake Anthony O'Rourke. Anna Cuin. Má fágam se sláinte is fada bheith tráchtú an méid a báid as Anna Cuin. Se má trúa amara ga ahras bháthar ben is páiste chuig sílú súl. A rína gnása a ceap névis pártas nar bheag an tábhacht dúin bert nó trúr. Ach láthó brá leis gan gcuin a báisteach lán an bháid acu a srúbú ar siúil.
Great campaign.
How is that? And I've adapted a few lines from The Faithful Light by Rosa Mulholland in order to commemorate and honour that sad occasion. From a Tarbert cottage window, a light shines over the vale. The sun is gone and the day is done, and the stars are few and pale. Only a farthing rushlight with a feeble flickering ray, 'twill gleam and wane in that window pane till wears the night away. A Tarbert woman sits in this cottage and weeps and tends the light. Her loving care has placed her there to glimmer the livelong night. For one to see went sailing, and one will sure come back. The light must burn till he return by the lonely beaten track. He comes not over the mountain, he comes not across the vale. The beacon light keeps burning bright, though the woman's face is pale. He lies deep down in the ocean, far out in the watery main, while hearts beat high when passing nigh that light in the window pane. They bless that faithful watcher, her heart that will not break, her friendly light in the darksome night that burns for another's sake. Her face grows paler and paler, but wanderers reach their home. Her loving pain is not in vain, though one will never come.
Well done, Melky.
Thank you very much.
Very appropriate.
The main species.
On this beautiful sunny morning, Saturday the 8th of June 2013, we're in Kilsynen graveyard, a very historic old graveyard, about 2-3 miles out the Tralee Road from Listowel. The last time I visited this graveyard, it was with the late Tim Griffin on the last Sunday in August 2012. Now, he took me down across the road to visit St. Simon's Well. On the following Friday, Tim Griffin went into hospital and he died in hospital about 4 weeks later, on the 8th of October. God be good to him.
In the Irish language, of course, there are many varieties of names for the same person. Sinan, Sinan, for example. So this cemetery graveyard could be called Kilsenan, Kilsinan, and that is the anglicised version. And then, of course, in the Irish there would have been variations also. So local usage is what we defer to in this case. And here it's called Kilsinan, isn't that correct?
That's right,
John?
yes.
Whereas in Carrigafoyle, they may be more prone and partial to saying Senan or
They are
Kilsenan
actually,
or so on. And that just, rather than being an error on anybody's part, is simply adding to the local colour and variety in terms of nomenclature and naming.
Yes, and the local football team here is called St. Senans.
Mm.
We are at Kilsinan or Kilsenan, Blessed Well, whichever version you would like to use, but it is all connected with St. Senan. And the last time I was here, Tim Griffin brought me down here. Tim was a very sick man on that Sunday, and he got energy from above, I suppose, to address the camera for the last time in his life. And we're awfully glad that that is on record for posterity.
Blessed Well, Kilsinan. This very spot, through 1,000 seasons of long cold nights, long sultry days, year by year, with soft rhymes and reasons, proved its power while each pilgrim prays. Through seasons far removed from ours, petitions still remain the same. Oratory walls and these leafy bowers still echo with self-same refrain. Prayers for mercy, sweetness, light, now as then, rise to rare heights. Existence always plagued by blight of humans' plight, their quest for rights. Kilsinan souls prayed here for ages, the sick, the blind, the deaf, the lame. Afflicted so, still some were sages, unburnished by false gloss of fame. By Kilsinan's well today we thank our Saviour for just being here. From cup of goodness many drank, their spirits here to us are near. Thus emboldened, so deep inspired, we rise and drag ourselves away, for life's tasks renewed, retuned, rewired. Fan agus tursha, but still on our way. There are many blessed or holy wells dotted throughout Ireland, particularly where we are here in southwestern Ireland, County Kerry, and the northern part of that particular county. St. Bat's Well, Kilsinan Holy Well, and many others all invariably have an aura of tranquility, peace, nature, harmony, especially in the sunshine and in the June beach leaf, etc. The buttercups underfoot and bluebells. There is certainly a very meditative aura that impresses all comers. Some people come here as they would indeed to a church for a period of respite and meditation.
The present location that we are in is the site of St. Bat's Well, about a quarter of a mile back the road from Coulard School, in the parish of Ballydunhoe at present, in the parish of Ballybunnan in the years gone by, and we don't know what parish it will be in the future. But I went to Coulard School back in the 40s, in the period known as the emergency. Visiting this blessed well, that's what we called it that time. Nowadays some people call it Holy Well, but we visited here at the annual visiting time, the last Saturday in April. In the early days, of course, my father would be hard to work in the fields, and my grandfather brought us here in the Aston car. He was sitting on the seat and guards, and we were sitting on the flat part of the car. Then in years after that, my grandfather wasn't able to travel, so we had to come later in the night when my father was finished with his work on the farm. That habit seems to have died down a bit over the years, but I'm glad to say that this holy area was completely overhauled by local committee, including Jack Griffin, Gerald Fitzgerald, Tony Mulville, and I got a great help from Tim Griffin, the Lord of Mercy. Now, John, I think you have a poem about...
Yes, as I taste the delicious water of St. Bat's Well, I'm reminded of some lines from John O'Donoghue's Benedictus, and I'll recite those for you. St. Bat's Well. Let us bless the grace of water, St. Bat's Well, whose liquid root worked through the long night of clay, trusting ahead of itself openings that would yet yield to its yearning, until at last it arises in the desire of light to discover the pure quiver of itself, flowing crystal clear and free through delighted emptiness. Water, voice of grief, cry of love in the flowing tear, vehicle and idiom of all inner voyaging that keeps us alive. Blessed be water, our first mother.
We're in the grounds of the parish church of Atay, a little bit over the border from Kerry in the county of Limerick. We are here to honour the memory of Father Jerry Roach, a local priest who was martyred in 2009. The tragic death of Father Jerry touched the hearts of everybody that heard about that situation, and it touched the heart of Tim Griffin as much as anybody else. So that's why we are here today. We have done a number of these videos over the last 3 years, and this would have been done last year around this time, only Tim Griffin was a very sick man and he finally died on the 8th of October. So we're doing this in his memory as well as everything else.
I've composed a few lines in honour of Father Jerry Roach, whose dates were 1941 until 2009. In '68 he tackled hard, won county football medal. Even then was he a man who starred in forefront, not in middle. Kiltegan Fathers, his vocation, out foreign, far afield, was Jerry's heartfelt action station, where his fate was sealed. Countering injustice in work and prayer and song, he exposed oppression and much of what was wrong. Braveheart in that battle, never one to yield, easy target for the wicked, never bore a shield. Athea's Jerry Roach, few contemporaries can approach. Bronze bust of his smiling face in this green Athea field inspires us to a life that's good, compassion's force to wield. And his sister, seated beside me.
No, beside us here today, his sister here, Hannah she here, Margaret Roach, and Anise, Hannah May Stack.
Any workshop.
Unfortunately.
If the employers think so, it will be a big thing.
No.
Á na Sléibhe, a wonderfully reminiscent and resonant expression meaning Athe. We're here at Á na Sléibhe, or Athe, Holy Well, could also be termed a Blessed Well, with two local sisters on my right and left. Could you give us a brief little introduction to the region, to the well, to yourselves perhaps?
Well, we were born in Benmore, which is the farm, not this immediate one here, but just beyond that. And when I researched the history of the Diocese of Limerick, I read that Benmore coexisted with this monastery that is here, the ruins of which are here in the cemetery behind us. So I presume this well was part of the same territory. I don't know what year now that happened. But these statues were erected by the women of Athe Parish in commemoration of the many favours received here from God through the intercession of the three patrons of this holy well, unveiled on the 15th of August 1914 by Reverend Patrick Sampson, Holy Ghost, Reverend James Cannon Cregan, parish priest, and Reverend Jeremiah O'Shea, curate.
And here you have three big statues on top. Could you say who they represent? This is the Virgin Mary.
Virgin Mary, St. John, and St. Joseph, isn't it?
I see. And people come and they put their little belongings and pieces of their cherished clothing here.
Yes. The idea was that they were leaving their ailments behind them here in this well. Originally, of course, it comes from a pagan tradition, and originally we heard that people washed their clothes in the well. It was the other side of the road there, and people came and washed their clothes, so the well moved across the...
it was a moving well.
It was a moving
People were moved, and the well moved.
And the well moved. And then there was a procedure, you said so many rosaries, I think 3 rosaries walking around the well, and then people dropped coins into the well and you drank from the mugs. And the month of May was the special month for visiting the well. So when we were young, we would always have visitors on the Saturdays in May. The relations would come from the neighbouring parishes, horse and track, I suppose, and they would visit here, and then they would come and
I see,
have a cup of tea.
Well, now, in his honour, and of course also in honour of this locus that we're in now, in situ here by this blessed well, I've written a few lines addressed to it specifically, and it goes something like this. Far from being a volcano or a geyser which astounds, but nonetheless welling up here from underground, spring water jump-starting a stream's progress, crystal clear, infallibly fresh, exquisite egress, perennial gushing source of folklore fables, outlet for exuberance of restless water tables. Coming to light and air at Athe location, as if by magic, out of good earth, manifestation of powers mystical for ancients, an ever-moving, animated source, not only for river, but also for worshippers seeking signs and truth, and sanctuary from a nature red in claw and tooth. And so Athe's special salubrious spring here, by association with great saints and hermits' devout expiation, became blessed, cures for motley ailments ascribed, divine grace attendant, pattern traditions prescribed, with pilgrims on beaten paths and lepers afflicted, on quest for salvation and redemption from sins inflicted. Ritual rounds, giving solace and complete consolation to Athe souls in times of need and conflagration. In their memory we tarry and utter a simple prayer, in solidarity with bygone pilgrims, feet bare, supping mindfully from this spring with careful tread, to be fortified and emboldened for rigours ahead, before we lie in peace, our own spring gone to ground.
Amen.
And did you have a pub? How was life with the pub?
But isn't you're not William Taylor, Tommy, isn't it? William was your father. Sorry. He's calling up over there.
Welcome to Athe, a small town in West Limerick, which is a twin region with North Kerry, that is in southwest Ireland.
Yeah.
And I am here today with Nan Hurley, who was born Stack, isn't that correct? 94 years ago.
Yeah.
And she is very knowledgeable about this area. And you'll note her wonderful dress, her wonderful shoes and outfit. She is the height of Athe fashion. Isn't that correct, Nan? Yes.
Come over, Brody.
We have a thatched church ruin here. And,
Come over. Well, I knew nothing about it, you see, but there was a school there.
A school there, yes.
There as well.
Yeah.
And it has church. That would be, I suppose, 1916s maybe.
1916.
Before. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Teresa Lister now, she's a teacher, a retired teacher, and she lives in that house.
Yeah.
But she's away.
But it certainly was a major feature here in times gone by.
Sure, of course.
No
it was.
doubt about
And
that.
It was thatched.
Thatched
It
as
was
well.
thatched.
So I heard. And in honour of this thatched church roof, I have written a few lines which I hope you will enjoy.
Yeah.
So I will recite it now for you.
Yeah.
Thatched church ruin, Athe. Window openings freely admit wet gusts of today. To skeletal church, no more inside than outside, nor less. In tandem, sides weather away. Cloud shadows unhindered and shafts of light animate church inner sanctum, as they did for its ancient architect, proportions right. Athe edifice evocative has gone past transcended dereliction, still a locus of beauty, delicately wrought scale, harmonies held fast. Spartan structure of forced frugality, less being more for minds fixed on divinity, on confraternity and generations of sodality. Hewn embellishments inspired imaginations. Sursum corda, let us lift up our hearts, fostering joyful and redeeming ruminations. Introibo ad altara Dei, the celebrant intones, Dominum non sum dignus, but who is worthy? Deo volente, Deo gratia, sentiments of these stones, these early Athe echoes resonate in our bones. And that completes my work on the thatched church ruin Athe in the company, in the wonderful company of Nan Hurley born Stack. And now I wish to introduce you to another local
She's the owner.
luminary.
She's the owner of this house.
She's the owner of this house.
She's
Not Mrs.
She's
Liston.
Mrs. Milan.
Teresa Liston.
Teresa Liston. Milan.
How do you do, Teresa? And come this way as well, my good friend Helen. Would you like to interrogate Teresa just on a few salient issues about
She
today?
would.
Oh,
Shut
the
the
It
church.
was
door.
in your place, Teresa.
It was, you see, the church was
Talk
down
out
there,
loud. Talk out loud.
wasn't it? And it was
Was it here or down
No.
the lane? Yeah, I thought it was down the lane.
down the lane.
But there's nothing there of it now.
No, only there's a part of a holy waterfront that they used after in a shed, you know.
Yes.
What's it?
This grounds here, this is your father, this is your home place.
Yes.
And
yes.
did your father tell you stories about this, the church that was here, or?
Oh, well, we always knew,
You always-
know. So that it's holy ground, I suppose.
And there were, your father used to hear bells ringing, was it?
Well, we used to. I actually heard them
You
myself.
heard them yourself? Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And did they sound like the?
No,
New-
they sounded a far
Distant.
distant kind of a lovely, pleasant, soft kind of a tone on them.
And you took it to signal that somebody
It
was dying?
Yeah,
is it?
that's what we always thought. Because I remember one day hearing them, myself and my father. He was 92 when he died.
Yes.
Yeah, and he said to me, he was listening to the bells, and he said he went out in the street, and when he came in after, he said, now I know why the bells were ringing, because Paddy Murphy has died, and Paddy Murphy had lived at the bottom of our yard there long ago. There were 3 or 4 little houses. Where
He was the postman. wasn't
he was
Uh-huh.
the postman. Yeah.
And he moved up into
Yeah.
the village.
And another time then I heard it, my brother and myself heard it, and it was some other one, well, they were not here, but they were connected to somebody here, the name Liston again. There were 2 who died over in America. And then there was a local lady, I don't want to mention names because, you know, they're kind of
must
still
have
here. But the night before she died, I got it at 8:30. And I said to myself, I was in one of the back rooms, or who's going to
Who's going to die tonight? Oh
And-
my God.
I'll talk a bit short. Go ahead.
And we had a blessed
And-
well here that moved. And
Yes,
we had a blessed
I said.
over. Isn't it Templar?
Templar Day, yes.
She
She
died
I
the next
did,
day.
Nan, already.
Did you?
And did you know that
I
graveyard
only heard
over
about
there
it.
and our
It
own
moved.
place was the
That
same?
A woman washed her clothes in the blessed well, and it had moved to the other side of the road the following morning. And that really happened.
Coffins, Teresa. And there were breastplates found then as well, were there?
Or when they were doing the sewerage, they came across a breastplates of coffins. Well, of course they were.
It was amazing that they had, was it priest coffins, is it? Or the
I'm
ordinary
sure
people
it must
wouldn't have had coffins,
No,
would they?
I'd say it would be priests that'd be buried.
Yeah, probably.
It may be something of a cliche to allude to the peacefulness and tranquility of the many monastic sites and ruins and castles dotted around Ireland. But here in North Kerry, I think there's something more that strikes me than the peacefulness and tranquility, and that is the vibrations that come from many of these sites. Vibrations which are so conducive to a contemplative, meditative attitude to life, and I think that inspires us and elevates us. I wrote a few lines in connection with this Canuck an Uair, or Knock an Uair ruin, and that is going as follows. Fearless friars, church of stout proportions, window a narrow slit, still light came in from the ocean, whence Augustinian faith was lit. Caroira deemed a safe place by Dominicans who here left studious trace, all now secure in Lord's wide embrace, leaving behind sweet aura of grace. Cnucanuar, Kerry's hill of the yew, is given its due by all comers, imbued with its magic as it glistens in morning dew. Few yews remain, where once they were hewed by monks, to build new pews, taking their gospel cues as faith grew out of the blue, which demons slew. Here at the doorway to Knockanure Old Church, Knockanure, North Kerry, we stand quite close to the headstone of a famous wit, patriot, poet and Shanachie, Paddy Drury. He wrote the following lines in celebration of this Knockanure Old Church. Knockanure Church, that the heavens may bless you, that sweet place of rest where the dead do resort. If you stand at its corner of a bright summer's morning, you will see the ships sailing from every seaport. You can see County Clare and the sweet town of Ennis, and the tide at Saline, where it rises and falls. If you travel the nation for a berrying plantation, still Knockanure Church is the pride of them all. Here from the window of old Knockanure Church, situated on the summit of Knockanure Hill in North County Kerry, Lissenfarren Ring Fort is clearly visible outside the window. This ring fort was left intact by more than perhaps 100 generations of farmers, since people lived there well over 1,000 years ago. I've composed some reflections on Lissenfarren Ring Fort, or more perhaps on life, inspired by this and other such ring forts. Ring Fort Reflection, Lissenfarren. Our weeks with their cares slip, slide away. Still, there is capture of episodes, moments of memorable joy, solidarity, day by day, eclipsing our ongoing loss, which foments frustration. Ultimately, all back to clay. Lissenfarren Ring Fort prompts a long view straight away. To escape the dire focus caused by pain and savour our humdrum normality in peace, this is what consoles and placates a restive brain. It prompts old instinct of ambition to cease its toil, dissipating petty thoughts of gain. Did Lissenfarren Ring Fort dwellers as much as us complain? Probably not. After us, anyway, the very same as it was before. Bog paths we track along get overgrown. As more is less, so less is indeed more. The less recalled of us past final moan, the better, so better for our spirit sore. Homage then to Lissenfarren Ring Fort dwellers and their millennia of lore. We are in the grounds of Knockanure Corpus Christi Church, built 1963, celebrating its Golden Jubilee in 2013. In these grounds stands this belfry containing a bell transferred from Knockanure Old Church, a bell with a very illustrious past because it was the first to sound a celebration in Ireland on the achievement of Catholic emancipation by Daniel O'Connell. I've written a few lines in celebration and acknowledgement of this bell. It is entitled Peerless Bell, Knockanure. This multi-resonant bell, very first to resound in Erin after faith was unbound. Emancipation copper-fastened by O'Connell renowned. Priests and people who had gone to ground, furtive by hidden mass rock and by mound, longing for freedom to be found, with devotion observing blessed pattern round, were overcome by this long-awaited sound. This bell betokened and sounded a celebration of long overdue Catholic emancipation. This multi-resonant bell from Knockanure's old church belfry today stands alone, outstanding in its historic role, to toll not a death knell, but an affirmative life knell, for all with ears to hear from far and near. In Erin's plangent isle, this bell's without peer. We're in Moher Cemetery in Moher Old Parish, now part of the parish of Moyvan, which is associated with Knockanure Chapel of Ease also. Why visit graveyards? Well, they are the repository of our heritage. All the significant people of the past who made huge contributions to our history and heritage are inevitably interred in graveyards, and so we get not only vibrations but maybe direct inspiration from reading their life summaries, from meditating on their fates and destinies, and also on their achievements in life. And just as in the future we ourselves will be interred and others will derive some inspiration or vibration from dwelling on us. I've written Moher Graveyard in this vein. Birth year inferred from death minus age, as headstone stated, in Moher Old Parish. Coming inferred from going at a point in time, lifespan slated in Moher Old Parish. To come, to go, age and time proceeding apace, all things dated in Moher Old Parish. Even galactic clusters and reality levels beyond, their portions plated, as in Moher Old Parish. Pondering midst Moher Cemetery life, summaries short, an answer is baited. Humanity coexists with ever birthing, ever ending in a multiverse ever inflated. Via verse I capture quaint corners of oblivion with infinity conflated. I sail on in seas of time through calm and rough for shipwreck fated. So that is a philosophic account of one aspect of life's meaning and death's meaning, set and prompted by Moher Old Graveyard, which we are now in. Reflecting on life's meanings, on life's plethora of meanings, we can imagine that the great orbs of our minds and of creation remain the same. The big rolls of the sea, etc., remain the same. And the big sweeps of landscape and bog, etc., remain quite the same, whatever progress or change takes place. This piece is entitled Gloria in Excelsis Moher. Orb of sky, roll of sea, sweep of bog, the very same, as always and ever, Gloria in Excelsis Moher. Orb of body, roll of mind, and sweep of desire, the very same, as always and ever. Gloria in excelsis morhor. Orb of hopes, roll of dreams, and sweep of aspirations, the very same, as always and ever. Gloria in excelsis morhor. Orb of divinity, roll of belief, and sweep of salvation, the very same, as always and ever. Gloria in excelsis morhor. Bird's eye views indistinguishable through time, the very same, as always and ever. Distant pasts merge with distant futures. Orbs, rolls, and sweeps. Gloria in excelsis Deo, to distance us from a too present present. We are in the River Gailey by Ahavoher Bridge, which is in North Kerry in southwestern Ireland. There is quite a flow in the trough system in the middle of the river, which is to facilitate fish swimming upstream for spawning purposes. Otherwise, the river is at pretty low water. I've written some lines adapted also from Benedictus by John O'Donoghue to suit this specific and beautiful location. It's entitled By Ahavoher Bridge, River Gailey. The courage of a river to continue belief in the slow fall of ground, always falling further towards an unseen ocean, carrying its origin to its end, seldom pushing or straining, keeping itself to itself, everywhere, all along its flow. At one with its sinuous mind, an utter rhythm, never awkward, it continues to swirl through all unlikeness with elegance, soothing on each side the stilled fields, sounding out its journey, raising up a buried music, where the silence of time becomes almost audible. By Ahavoher Bridge on North Kerry's River Gailey.
Hogamarfin and Sauralin, Hogamarfin and Sauralin, Hogamarlin is kin begegtine, Hogamarfin and Sauralin. Sheshon Saura Yuki Gohera, Hogamarfin and Sauralin. Saura buina no ni negal, Hogamarfin and Sauralin. Hogamarlin in Kivrik, Hogamarfin and Sauralin. Trid a break o the Arctic Finnick, Hogamarfin and Sauralin. Hogamarfin and Sauralin. Hogamarfin and Sauralin. Hogamarlin is kin vegetine, Hogamarfin and Sauralin.
And as we stand, bathed in the evening sunshine, by this bank of rhododendrons, we spy in the distance some turf workers coming along. It appears to be a family, seems to be a couple, and perhaps their daughter. They're carrying the tools of their trade. They march along through the bogland, through the rough track, and as they approach, I think I will ask them a few simple questions about what they are doing. I'm John Malachy Raftery, unfiller from Glenamaddy, County Galway. And if you come this way and maybe just stand here, what is your name?
My name is Tim Lane.
Tim Lane.
Tim Lane.
Tim Lane. And how do you do?
Hello.
This maybe Mrs. Lane.
Yeah, that's it.
And
Betty.
what's your first name?
Betty.
Betty Lane.
Yeah.
Betty, you might just go there and face in that direction. Well done, Betty and Tim. And I see another person coming along. Come on. How do you do? And this is Miss Lane.
Yep. Breda.
Breda Lane.
Yep.
Stand beside me here, Breda. And of course I warm so much to the name Breda. It is the name of my own spouse of 36 years. 36 years. But anyway, what is the name of this townland, Tim, Betty and Breda, that we are in at the moment now?
Quailad.
Quailad.
Yeah.
Quailad.
It's called Quailad. And can you hold up the tools and maybe give a brief description of what they do?
They're just after the machine lays out the turf, you just slice it.
Yeah.
That's it. It makes it much easier to handle.
And these are old enough tools, or you've used them for many seasons, I suppose.
Many seasons, right?
Yeah. And there's a little bit of give in them, a little bit of leeway, so
yeah.
it takes a bit of skill to control them. And
With the full driver's license.
that's right. Yeah. You'd want to keep a bit of a distance from. And what would you call this particular tool?
Well, we just call it a turf slicer.
A turf slicer. Yeah. So now, I don't want to detain you because undoubtedly you're very hungry.
Exactly.
You're hungry as well.
Hungry and dry now.
Hungry and dry, and I have to make a long journey back to Glenamaddy as well, so I want to extricate myself. Okay. Thanks very much.
Nice meeting you.
And lovely to meet you,
Nice
Tim Lane,
best.
and lovely conversation. Betty, I wish you every success.
Thank you very much.
And of course, Breda, a wonderful girl who has her future ahead of her.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. We're present here on the sun-drenched bank of rhododendrons in the vicinity of Moyvan and Listowel in North County Kerry, southwest Ireland. There are many beauteous regions here and many beauteous sites that one comes across unexpectedly, such as this one. So a few lines will acknowledge that particular point, and they're entitled Regions Revered. Fair North County Kerry's regions are legion. Its bardic region of rhymers, where Listowelers are imbued from first school primers. Its rugged region of relics, Ardfert a site which seer saint selects. Its hill-scaped region of verities, Kyrieleison truths now sadly rarities. Regions replete with recollections, remembrances, recalling such residuals, all lives enhance. Overlapping, interwoven, rustic regions of repute, well-entrenched reputation, which none can refute. Pride and joy to pay homage on each film shoot, enhanced by sweet music of fiddle and flute. In such milieu, the poet becomes almost mute, awestruck, struck dumb on beholding such fruit. But he picks some ripe angles, each location to suit, his being inspired to its core, to its root, putting these regions' preeminence beyond dispute.
We are here at Kilsynan Blessed Well in the townland of Kilsynan. Now, as one would be assumed, the Blessed Well takes its name from St. Sinan. That's our famous St. Sinan of Scattery Island. St. Sinan, of course, had a church here as well, but the church was across the road up where the present graveyard is now. That church was St. Sinan's church as well. But then that church came into ruin during the Reformation, and later there was 3 other churches that were built in Erramore. They were over about maybe 2 miles or less. If you went the shortcut, barely 2 miles. The first church was on the southern side of the Erramore Road, and that church was there for a very long time. Now, that church was replaced by a later church which was built inside where the present church is today. The earlier church that was there, that was demolished and a new church built in the 1960s. The one thing that did change about that church, of course, was that it became the church of Our Lady of Fatima and St. Sinan, so that the name St. Sinan is synonymous with 1, 2, 3, 4 churches and Our Blessed Will. And as you can see, there's an effigy of St. Sinan's cross up here, and behind me, look, is an effigy of St. Sinan himself, and you can see where the faithful will rub their crosses onto that. The Blessed Well is famous because it has been there for centuries, and it certainly has very many curative properties. In fact, I know quite a few people that were cured miraculously, sometimes after doing 1 round, or at other stages they would have 3 rounds of the rosary done, because the rosary, you went around the Blessed Will and the surrounds saying the rosary. The concise thing for the prayers was you said 3 rosaries, and you probably came back again then to thank St. Sinan for anybody who had been healed or helped. I know there's one particular person who had a very serious hand problem after an operation, which nobody could seem to cure. Now, a lovely lady with a pony and trap came to my mother of a Saturday evening, and she said, "Kathleen, you throw your clothes on you because I'm taking you to St. Sinan's Well." At the middle of the 3rd rosary, she felt an awful weight dropping off her hand. That hand was perfect until she took it up to a better place. So at another time, we will do a resume over there, because again, the other thing we have to remember was that the old roadway that was coming in here came from another passageway that was over there, which went over through Mount Cole and further over to Rahi. Now, that passageway extended down along at the lower side of the road, and again, if you think about that, you see, there was a place called the Green Road, and that passage extended out there. It continued on to Kilfeeheny Graveyard, and probably continued on to Kirrialaisen Abbey in Abbey-Dorney. The one other important thing I suppose to remember with coming up here is that we see a fabulous new road below here. That road didn't exist until I'd say the mid-1930s, because that road is called the New Line, and that was built in the 1930s when the road was widened with face shovels and a new road put there. Prior to that, the road from Listowel to Tralee, you went up Ballygrinnan, came on through Boreen, passed to Grosses, came back to Erramore, you went back past to Kilfeeheny, you went back to the turn at Crotta, and you turned up there, you went up to Kilflynn, and you would have been inside in Tralee in a very short time. Several of the older people that had to go to Tralee in horses and cars would have used that road because it was shorter and safer than the present day road. So peace be to all who visit this blessed place, and may it bring them healing and relief.